Somebody just made a reaction video on me, and I'm going to react to that reaction video. And even though I don't usually do this, I think this is a very interesting case because it's classic intellectual dishonesty. Now, because his tone has been relatively respectful throughout the entire video, I'm going to keep my tone respectful. I'm not going to name call or do anything of that sort, but I am going to call a spade a spade. So let's get into this.
But fall in love with it first. No, you don't necessarily have to fall in love with strength training. See, don't get me wrong. Strength training is a non-negotiable for everyone for the immense health benefits it has to offer. But unless you want to be a bodybuilder or you want to make a career in fitness, you don't have to fall in love with it. See, most of us do not love our jobs. In fact, most of us hate our jobs, but we still go out and do them because it pays our bills. Similarly, people should be doing strength training because it makes them fit, agile, independent, without falling in love with it. I mean,
back when I was in the debating society in college, we were taught the concept of a straw man. Now, a straw man basically means when you take someone's argument, you turn it into something that is not, and then you defeat this modified, twisted, ghost argument so it looks like you won, right? I'll give you an example. If I say, apples are very good for you, and the other person says, do you mean oranges are not? But oranges have fiber, oranges have vitamin C, oranges are a fruit. By extension, Francesco, you're wrong. Do you notice how the argument that he modified has nothing to do with the original argument? Similarly, in his piece of content, he's asserting that I said that you necessarily have to fall in love with weight training to be able to weight train. But if you went and watched my first video, the video that he's taken 2 seconds out of and conveniently clipped out, you'll realize that my original piece of content had nothing to do with that statement. My piece of content was specifically about people who are consuming science-based lifting content, like RN Trains, Hriday Adlaka, all of these people who go into biomechanics and talk about which exercises are better than other exercises, right? All of these, like these extremely researched creators. My argument was that if you're just starting to lift, don't overwhelm yourself with all of this information. Do not try to optimize every variable. Just get to the gym, enjoy the process, and fall in love with it. Falling in love with it being used as a figure of speech. So in essence, what I was trying to say was, don't overcomplicate your fitness journey, go to the gym and have some fun. He saw 2 seconds out of that video and said, whoa, Francesco's saying you have to fall in love with weight training, otherwise you won't be able to weight train. And he made an entire reel about those 4 words taken out of context. That's reason number 1 why I think this is intellectual dishonesty. Reason number 2 this is intellectual dishonesty in my opinion is because context matters. If you take 4 words or if you take a phrase or if you take 2 seconds out of a video and you create meaning out of those 2 seconds out of a video, you don't link the original video, the people who are viewing your video have not seen the original video, then what you're doing is that you're relying on the lack of context to twist my words. I think that's a very cheap thing to do in my opinion, where you take words out of context just to paint someone's statements in a different light. This is also the shady practices that people pull in political arguments, by the way, where instead of taking an entire statement or an entire stance or an entire speech, they'll take a passage or a statement or a sentence or a phrase from that, and then they'll make an entire inference from there and they'll create another piece of content criticizing this person. I think, in my opinion, if you have to change the context or remove the context of what someone is saying to be able to put your point forward, I don't think you have much of a point. Because then you're essentially lying about what the other person said, because context matters. Reason number 3 why I think this is intellectually dishonest is because I truly think this guy agrees with me. Because people don't exist on the extremes. You don't absolutely hate weight training and you don't absolutely love it. So when people come to you, you're going to ask them to try and find middle ground, where you tell them that, all right, cool, listen, you might not enjoy going to the gym, but I kind of want you to show up for yourself, right? Because this is important. But you as a coach at the same time are also going to make an effort to try and make the process a little enjoyable. So if someone's more interested in calisthenics, I'm not going to push them on machines. If someone's more interested in machine work, I'm not going to ask them to hit the barbell every time they go to the gym. If someone wants to only weight train a couple of times in a week, I'm not going to ask them to train 6 times in a week. Because if you do that, then 90% of the clients that come to you are going to be dissatisfied, and the moment they stop working with you, they will lose all of their results because they've come to resent the entire process. Now, I really hope this guy doesn't function that way, because if he does, then Fitter really needs to be answerable about the kind of people that they hire. And it speaks very poorly for their coaching methodology and his. But then again, this is just a piece of content. Maybe he doesn't coach people like that, and I really hope for the sake of his clients that he doesn't. Now let's watch the rest of the video, because there's more.
I mean, we are living in 2026. Are we still asking people to voluntarily fall in love with someone? Whatever happened to, you can't make yourself fall in love with things? I hope it makes sense.
Bro, what? This guy has built his entire piece of content around not understanding a figure of speech. He doesn't understand that when I ask people to fall in love with something, I don't literally mean get married to the barbell. This guy's equated me to someone who's forcing his child into an arranged marriage. What? But this is also not the end of the reaction video because he fucked up. In his comment section, he's getting pasted by people who are commenting on the video and telling him how his logic is flawed. I didn't even have to make this video. This guy is also a client of a very close friend of mine, and I took authorization from him. I was like, dude, I'm going to make a piece of content on your client. Do you want me to hold back? And he said, no, do what you want. And I'm doing what I want. I do not care if this guy still continues to disagree with me. I do not care if he makes another reaction video on this reaction video. But the one thing that I do want to make this video for is because people like you, viewers, you should have an idea about the kind of filth that exists in our fitness community. And you should be able to spot intellectual dishonesty for a mile. Just because someone sits in a car sounds polite does not mean they're good people.